Hi, I'm Jacinta Cunahan and you're watching Coast Community News 5 at 5, August 14. Kincumber and Picketts Valley Community Action Group has claimed the rejection of an over 50s residential development on environmentally sensitive land at Kincumber as a victory for the community. The Central Coast Local Planning Panel knocked back the DA last week following a recommendation from Central Coast Council for refusal. The $19.7 million project, Choice Living Avoca, would have seen 220 manufactured homes and ancillary buildings erected on the former bungalow site on Avoca Drive. The panel refused the application, saying it was inconsistent with the area's E4 environmental living zoning. We spoke yesterday with Graham Murray from the association.
Well, obviously we're ecstatic, and it's been 9 months of really hard work. It's just stirring the community up and creating the awareness of what we always believed to be quite an audacious and brazen sort of attempt at by Living Choice to do this development. This is always regarded as being quite an overdevelopment, and so obviously we're really ecstatic, and it's a bit of a celebration happening this weekend. So we're all looking forward to it.
The region's mountain bikers have welcomed a decision by council to hold off on establishing dedicated bike trails and facilities outside environmental lands. Council has rejected a motion from Deputy Mayor Jane Smith, which would have seen bikers excluded from riding in a coastal open space system or COS lands. Councillor Smith told fellow councillors the environmental integrity of COS lands, established 36 years ago by the council, was under threat from damage inflicted by bikers. Representative of the Central Coast Mountain Bike Club, Reef, said the solution could be a formalised sustainable trail network, but after lengthy debate, councillors have decided to defer any action until further studies have been made. And the Central Coast received a visit from Premier Gladys Berejiklian this week. Let's go to David.
Thanks, JC. Yes, the Premier was here on Tuesday with Health Minister Brad Hazzard, and their first stop was the topping out ceremony at Wyong Hospital. Topping out, as you know or may know, is a builder's right held when the last beam is placed atop a structure, or in this case, the top floor is finished. In keeping with the tradition, the Premier conducted the ceremony on the top of the partially built 6-storey building, which is part of the $200 million Wyong Hospital redevelopment. The Premier then travelled to Warnervale to turn the first sod on the newly named Porters Creek Public School, kindly deciding it was more fitting for Gorican High Year 12 student Jock Clinton, who is also part of the AEG group, that's the Aboriginal Education Group, be more appropriate for him to do the honours. And here's the Premier again.
This is a brand new school for the growing community of Warnervale. It has a beautiful Central Coast setting, and what excites and inspires me is the hundreds of children that will be in the school within a very short time frame, but then the thousands and thousands into the future that will get their education here and then go on to do amazing things in life. And I feel incredibly proud. It's always exciting to be able to start the construction of a brand new school, but especially for this community. The Central Coast community is growing. We are doing our best to create new jobs, to provide that infrastructure which encourages local families to stay here and to feel confident they've got the best education and the best schools.
It's phenomenal, actually. I take a lot of pride in it, because I know what it'll do for our kids, and the true commitment to Aboriginal education is the goal to success within all schools, and the partnership that the Department of Education has with New South Wales AECG make sure that this happens.
The Central Coast Airport at Warnervale has been renamed the Warnervale Aircraft Landing Area in response to the pending repeal of the Warnervale Airport Restrictions Act. The New South Wales Government recently confirmed it would repeal the WAR Act following an independent review that generated more than 900 public submissions, with 75% supporting the repeal. In response, Council reaffirmed its ownership of the airport and confirmed the runway length would remain at 1,200 metres with no further extensions. We spoke to the Council Watch reporter Marilyn Vale, who has been following developments.
but what did get up was a Councillor Smith motion or recommendation that Council actually clarify its position on the airport's future, which was what the review asked Council to do. So the main thing was to rename it a aircraft landing area, which is just an aviation term to say it's a small area, I suppose, rather than a big airport. What they didn't really tell us is what their position is going to be with the Aero Club. They're still looking to have their licence renewed next year. So that's an ongoing issue that, to my mind, hasn't yet been publicly answered.
And the option to place artificial reefs at Warnervale and North Entrance will be considered next year as Central Coast Council works on stage 3 of a coastal management program that looks at options into beach nourishment. The move comes after councillors Gilly Pillen and Bruce McLaughlin called for coastal erosion solution last week. Here is what Bruce had to say.
Looked at the artificial reefs before. So the Asian countries have actually done a lot of work on their artificial reefs, and they've increased their biomass by 12 times. If you add a reef to a area of bare sand, you increase the biomass by 400 times. So if you want to add fishing amenity, marine life, diving, that sort of thing, build some reefs.
And here's some more COVID news from David.
Now, JC, COVID has definitely tested the strength of many. But despite these challenges, many businesses, such as Bell's at Killcare, have been able to create a silver lining. Due to the shutdown, the establishment started up a pop-up bakery selling fresh bread and pastries. Not only did this save the business and its staff from unemployment, it was so successful that owner of Bell's, Karina Barry, and her husband had decided to make it a permanent feature. We spoke with her yesterday.
So when we got shut down, basically the whole restaurant was closed, so we had no income whatsoever. And we kind of went lateral and said, well, what have we got that we can sell? We've always baked bread at Bell's for the last 13 years, and we've always baked pastries for our breakfast shift. And so we just started selling bread. We dragged a table into the middle of this room, started selling bread, and we had a queue out the door with our local community supporting us. 55 of our staff went on to JobKeeper, so everybody was working about 3 days a week, either in the garden, painting, cooking, or in the bakery. I think we'll always look back on that time as something that we all got through in a really positive way.
Another great business idea that has come out of the struggles of COVID-19 are homemade masks. After hating the idea of so many disposable masks going into landfill, Leah Bennett's started making and selling her own masks to friends and family over social media. After beginning production out of her lounge room last Thursday, she has struggled to keep up with demand. We went and saw Leah in her production studio, as it was, yesterday.
I was kind of horrified at how many of the disposable masks were going into landfill, and I just decided that it'd be better to make a reusable machine washable option. And so I've got hordes and hordes of fabric that I've been accumulating over the years, and a background in fashion and costume, so I've got the sewing skills, and I just thought I'd pull it all together. And I made a few masks for my parents that were constantly just churning through the disposable ones, and they loved them. So I just popped a few on social media, and it's just gone gangbusters. So I'm pumping them out at the moment.
But as we know, despite these silver linings, there are still many struggling on the Central Coast. Reports from Coast Shelter point to a doubling in demand for their services this year as compared to last year. Yet, statistics from local data analytics firm Sea Change shows homelessness has been creeping up over the last 5 years. The 2018-2019 data shows areas most affected in the SA2 homelessness ranking are Gosford Springfield, the Entrance Wyong, and Umina Booker Bay Patonga, all those divisions. The pandemic seems to simply have accelerated these worrying trends. Now let's see what happened this week in sport. Let's go to Hayley McMahon.
Thanks, David. Avoca surfer Lennox Chell has taken out top honours in the under-18 men's division at Woolworths New South Wales Junior State titles at Sawtell Beach. Chell, the goofy-footed dynamo and former under-14 New South Wales champion, put on a consistent display of backside rail surfing in the final on Monday, August 10, to finish with a 12.93 two-wave heat total and claim the title ahead of fellow goofy-footer Jarvis Earl from Cronulla. And in cycling, Central Coast Cycling Club's under-15 women's dynamic duo, Lilia Tataranoff and Nicole Duncan, were once again on the winners' podium in last weekend's State Road cycling event in Sydney. The road race turned out to be a wet one, but the girls still battled through elements, completing 5 laps of a 7.1 kilometre road circuit, including a 2 kilometre hill climb to reach 35.5 kilometres. After a sprint to the end, both Lilia and Nicole were well positioned, with Lilia clinching the win and Nicole coming in close behind at 4th. Let's go to Lucy now for the weather.
Thanks, Hayley. We're starting off with some rain this weekend. Tomorrow will be partly cloudy on the coast, a 60% chance of showers and a thunderstorm in the evening. With southwesterly winds up to 15 to 25 kilometres an hour, the maximum temp will reach 20 degrees and an overnight temperature dropping to 8 to 9 degrees. Then say goodbye to the clouds on Sunday with a sunny day, light winds and only a slight chance of rain, which will continue on through till Monday.
And if you're looking for artistic inspiration this weekend, look no further than the Gosford Regional Gallery that has opened a tailored exhibition right for the times. We dropped by to have a squiz. Here's David.
And artists will be pleased because the Gosford Regional Gallery has opened, as well as the Japanese Gardens. Now, in the case of the Japanese Gardens, you will need to book before you enter. As far as the Gosford Gallery is concerned, they have put on a remarkable exhibition called Isolation, where local artists and artists from around the country are exhibiting their emotions and artistic expression of what it's like in isolation. Now, there's only 30 people allowed in the gallery space at any one time, but if you come in the downtimes, it's well worth a visit.
Thanks, David. All these stories and thousands more are available on our website, and remember to pick up a copy of this week's Coast Community News issue number 255. And finally, local band The Little Quirks, who have featured on 5 and 5 previously, have released another catchy little single to keep our collective spirits up. Thanks for watching.